Hi, loves. Thank you for joining me on this episode of AW Confidential, where nothing is confidential, I tell my guests. So today we are here with actor Dani Diet.
You,
Yes.
yeah.
She she went from Michigan courts to Hollywood screens. Now starring as Wendy, and you're going to pronounce me if I say this wrong, Wee Song, I probably said it wrong, in Prime Video's Runaways. And today we're going to talk reinvention, grit, and what it takes to rewrite your story. And Dani, you have rewritten your story. I absolutely love it. I mean, the contrast is it, it's so different because one field is so, I perceive it as rigid and sort of just very black and white, and the other one is fluid and sort of has so many colors to it. So you went from working in Michigan circuit courts to becoming an actor. That's a serious reinvention, as I mentioned. What was the moment when you decided to take that step off the safe path and chase uncertainty? Because whether it's performing arts, any type of arts or creative um, journey it's painful.
That's
And I know, but it's beautiful. For
yeah.
me, it is anyway.
Um, okay, so how did I make that transition essentially?
Yes.
Um, well, I thought about this before our talk today because of course I researched your work and
Uh,
um I decided that I'm going to share something for the first time that I've never shared publicly. Which is that I was married for a long time. I was in a 10-year relationship and we were the best of friends and painfully, devastatingly though, because of some things that life surprised us with, we decided to get a divorce. And in the process of going through that insane life change, um, I started kind of looking at everything in my life and whether or not it was truly making me happy or putting me on a path to actual joy. And while there was definitely things about my career that I did love and appreciate, and I worked in the criminal justice field for over 7 years. I did both children's protective services investigation, investigating child abuse and neglect, which is a very difficult job. God bless everybody that does it much longer than I was able to do it. But it's in those positions you do feel like you are making a difference. I connect a lot with kids, and it was a job that I really, really did like doing. But then I went to probation and I ended up working in the courts in the Metro Detroit area, with just seeing a lot of stuff that's not so nice, right? Your days aren't filled
yeah.
with joy. Um, Although it's important work, especially trying to do the right thing within a broken system is very, very hard. But I just started looking at everything and was like, I don't think that I'm going to be happy doing this forever. And now that I'm like, I don't have a life partner to do it with. And, bottom line is I thought I was going to have kids. I mean, I always thought I would be a mom, and I'm not a mom to any human children. Um, but I have my fur baby. So, the plan for me at that time in my late 20s, early 30s was, I'll keep doing this job until I have some kids. And then I kind of wanted to go back for my social work degree, because I'm a mental health advocate junkie. I love everything mental health. And so then when that didn't happen, it essentially had me look at everything. And my ex-husband actually was the person who asked me the question that quite literally changed my life. He just looked at me and said, if you could do anything at all and don't think about the money involved, what would it be? And throughout the years, we would always watch scripted television because he also worked in the law enforcement field. And so our days were filled with the news already. Like we didn't need to watch the news, right? And just throughout the years, I would always say, I feel like I could do that. I feel like I could do that. That looks so fun. It would just like come up randomly, not all the time either, like very intermittently throughout the 10 years we were together. Um, but there's always been like a creative side to me. I've always had a very left brain side of me and a very right brain side of me because I grew up as a singer. And then
Oh, wow.
I did like a couple community theater things as a kid. And then I ended up doing a high school musical my senior year, but I was always a sports girl over like plays and things like that. But I was always singing and I was always performing publicly. So there's always been the creative outlet for me. And when he asked me that question, I was just like, you know what I would do. Don't be silly. And he's like, okay, then you do that. And let's figure out how you do that. And I'm going to support you while you make that transition and while we're going through a divorce. So
Wow.
I just kind of jumped. I changed my
Wait,
status, my career, and my location. And when we ultimately, after a long processing period, by the way, this wasn't like a decision that was made in haste at all. It took us a long time to come to that. But I moved to Atlanta from Michigan and I just jumped in not knowing a single person in the business. And I honestly got on dating.
wait. So you went from a stable,
Yes,
I won't say 9 to 5, but a stable environment.
way
Well,
more than 9 to 5, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. And literally you uprooted, picked up everything, moved to Atlanta, left your job, and did you have anything secured yet?
No, nope. I found a roommate online. My brother had a work trip in Atlanta and I tagged along on his work trip one time, like couple months before just to like see what Atlanta looked like because I had heard that there was a smaller market outside of New York and LA and found a
Mm.
roommate online, got an apartment. And then what I was going to say is when I got there, I was like, how do I meet people and figure out like where I can take legitimate classes? And I was like, I don't know, because I had taken a course in Michigan that was kind of like a hack situation where they were definitely charging way too much and didn't really even know what they were doing, right? But I was lucky enough that they had hired a girl who was a wonderful theater actress, Vanessa Sawson, shout out to her. She actually had knowledge about the business. And she also was like, you have no idea what you have. Like, you have raw talent. Like, you should actually pursue this when I like started dipping my toe in here while I was still here in Michigan. And so I got on dating apps actually while I was down in Atlanta and put on my app, like, I'm looking to meet men in the entertainment business. I will take you out for tacos. We can get a coffee. Like, I truly did it because I didn't know where else to network. And so I just was like, well, let me use my resources. This is a resource that's kind of newer at that time. And some of my best friends I met on that app.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. I mean, that takes courage. I'm sure there was some fears there.
Maybe some stupidity. I don't know, like I didn't care. I was just ballsy and I I'm a bit stubborn in that like if I say I want to do something, I'm gonna figure out how to do it. And I do think that my investigative nature
Mm.
skills really have helped me navigate the entertainment business.
Isn't it interesting? Everything happens for a reason. That background actually has helped you, I'm sure, as you
It's
mentioned.
in so many ways that people just wouldn't even think about, for sure.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, having lived in this legal world where
Hmm.
truth and perception collide on a daily basis,
Mm.
how do those experiences feed into how you build your characters, making them real, flawed, and human? Because when I saw one of your scenes
Mhm.
in the show,
Runarounds.
Runarounds,
Mhm.
um, I was like, whoa. For a second, it just felt so gritty and like real. I was like, wow. I mean, it stood out to me.
Thank
So do you sort of channel anything from your old life, let's say, or that old chapter, let's say chapter,
you.
into your characters at all?
1000%. And actually for Wendy Wysong in the Runarounds, which is the new show that you talked about that just hit Amazon Prime, um, I I went even deeper than that, and I haven't shared this yet either, but I did talk to this person and I asked them if I could share this, and he said that he's comfortable with that. But once when I initially started doing the runarounds, we shot the pilot episode in 2022. The boys were all brought together in 2020, and they're all real musicians, by the way. And so they're really playing in the show when you see them playing. They're a real
Oh,
band.
wow.
They're on a
They're
tour.
really good too.
They're so good. It's
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
4 out of the 5 of them had never acted. Because the creator, Jonas Pate, wanted to prioritize the musicianship of the show instead of getting actors who like could play and sing, maybe, you know? So he's brilliant, but he got the boys an acting coach in 2020 after they came together. And then in 2022, we shot the pilot episode so then it could be shopped to networks. And I did not know at that time the extent of what Wendy was going to become. The audition that I did for the show initially was not a scene that's in the show. And it was very, very intense and incredibly abusive in nature, verbally, to my child, which is, Wyatt, played by Jesse Gallagher. And so I knew that she was abusive. I assumed she had trauma, but it wasn't until we came back in 2024 that I learned that she's also, spoiler alert, but she's an addict. She's an addict. And she also has a personality disorder that's like not anything that's like overtly shared in the show, but um in talks, we all kind of agreed she's borderline personality, which is unfortunately, a disorder that I'm aware of in my real life. And so I felt like I knew her, but then I also definitely pulled from like some of my past, unfortunately, moms that I had dealt with in Children's Protective Services. And by the way, I dealt with every social class in Children's Protective Services. I mean, you don't just deal with middle class, lower class, like you're dealing with everyone, right? So, but I certainly have seen the array of family lifestyles and dysfunction, right? So, but what I did was, because I don't have any personal knowledge around addiction, there's no one with addiction that I'm aware of in like my nuclear family or my extended family. So I didn't have any like personal experience with addicts other than in my profession. And I just wanted to go a little bit deeper on that. So I reached out to a friend of mine who is in recovery, for alcohol. But I said to him, "Do you know anybody who's in recovery from heavier drugs?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely. Let me reach out to somebody." He's also like now a sponsor and stuff. And he put me in touch with this guy named Nello. And he is a former drug dealer and drug addict in the South, which is actually also where we were shooting. So him and I had multiple conversations around addiction, around the psychological effects that happen during the course of addiction and when it's beginning and when it progresses to different things. Because throughout the show, even though it's not overtly shown, you can kind of see it in the background. Wendy kind of makes this journey from pills and alcohol into some harder stuff. And he just shared so much about that world with me and about the mindset of those people. And even to where I was like, okay, well, if I'm on the couch and I'm drinking and I'm taking oxy, like what kind of state am I in? Like he would walk me through where you would feel euphoric, where you would feel just relaxed, where I mean all of it, the gamut of it. And I said to him, "Can I share this publicly when I talk about the show?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely," because he's already served his time for the things that he's done. And so there's no shame around it. He shares his story, obviously in sponsorship and things like that. And I'm just so grateful for him and for his transparency to share his real life journey with me, because the last thing that I wanted to do was build a caricature of a human being. I really wanted her to feel real and I wanted to find the humanness in her. And I needed to find like a way to love her, even though she's difficult to maybe love on
Mm.
the surface, right? So
Well, it felt real, I have to say.
good, thank you. I was so nervous, honestly. I was really nervous because I was like, I've done my work, but man, I don't know what this is going to look like. I hope that when people see it, they know I took it seriously and I cared about it.
So it's a difficult character to
Yeah.
to you know put yourself in. What drew you to that role?
I just got an audition. So got an audition. And when I saw the writing, it was like right away, I kind of felt like okay, she's definitely someone who comes from trauma. She's definitely someone who potentially has a personality disorder based on what I know about certain mental health conditions. And to be honest with you, I'm drawn to that because I care about that. I care about mental health, and I'm an advocate like in my personal life. I mean, I've helped multiple friends who just have like resistance to like navigating the healthcare system to like help them get into therapy. And I mean, anybody who's close to me knows like, you know,
I am a
therapy.
huge advocate of therapy. I'm sure you know if you've seen any of, I mean, it
Mhm.
has, I feel like it's been my savior.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I I believe we should all have a therapist. I know it's not possible to have everyone on therapy, but I really do believe it because
I
life is hard. It's just hard. And we all have like we all have baggage, right? We all have truths that we will deny until we go to the next place. Like it's just if we just embraced our truths and openly try to talk through them, talk about them. I don't know. I think there's so much shame and so much guilt and I don't know. I just feel I don't want to get into that, but I know it's heavy. But I just feel like there's so much darkness and I do believe there's a you got to find some kind of light. And it's I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very hard to do it alone.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And it's hard to do it when you have a therapist and you have supportive friends. Like it's still hard even with all that support. So, I think of it
100%.
like why do we prioritize our physical health so much and the thing that actually drives our body to function is somehow not a priority and it's just a societal stigma. And I think that slowly, we are chipping away at taking the shame down and the stigma away from it, as more generations come, because certainly my parents' generation is very much like, why would I pay somebody to fix my problems? They don't know about my life.
You if listen, if I had a dollar for every time I was having this conversation last night, same
Mhm.
thing, because the first thing a parent will say is, "Oh, why are you going to pay money for, to go see someone else and tell them your problems? Tell me, give me the money." I this is a tale as old as time.
I'm like, you don't have the skill set, honey, to
Well, that's
go and own
but
it.
But I think that's one of the issues. I think the perception, and Hollywood has something to do with this, is that you go to someone, you sit on a couch and tell them your problems. That is not the way therapy works. There are actually tools and resources and exercises that you have to and you have to do the work. It's not like going to a doctor and getting a pill for something. You have to do the work. And I think that's the hard part. Most of us don't really want to go there.
Oh, and then when you screw up again, because we're all flawed human beings and sinners, right? It's like you have to confront yourself about, oh my God, I did it again.
Yeah.
But then there's those beautiful moments where something happens that normally would have, I'll use the word triggered because it's just like a hot button word, but like that would have activated me, right? Previously. And it doesn't in the same way. And I think, oh my God, like I'm growing.
Yeah, exactly.
Something's working, and when you have those moments, man, it is the best. So
I
anyway.
described it in my book. I described it as I remember my first breakthrough. I walked out of the therapist's office and I texted her. I said I can finally see in color.
Mm.
That was my first breakthrough. Now I can see them more. Now it's different.
Yeah.
Because you have breakthroughs throughout the entire journey. Like you said, it's just it doesn't end. It's just like a constant, work that we have to do. But your character, Wendy, there's so many challenges in her life. What did you find was her biggest strength and her biggest challenge? And it's easy to say, well, she was an addict or she was mental health, but the character and you see her in a way that we don't because we're looking from the outside. So a challenge and a strength.
I would say at the core of everything, Wendy Wendy forgot what joy
Mm,
and happiness looks like, what it feels like.
that resonates.
She's missing she's missing that. And
Wow.
with all the things I've been through in the last several years with a lot of like loss and grief of people that I love dearly, I really relate to that, you know.
You know what's funny? I was going to ask you what connected you most to her. So funny you said that.
I think I think if we really strip it down, that
Wow.
yeah.
Thanks
And
for sharing that. Oof.
I know it's a
I didn't
lot.
see it coming. I didn't see because I've been there.
Yeah, I think I'm still there right now. You know, I say to my closest friends, like, there's just this childlike joy that was always in me that when I lost my grandmother, who was my best friend, there's just like that sparkle, that piece of me that went with her, right? And I feel like I fight every day to get that part of me back, you know? Um, because it
Yeah.
affects everything. It
I
affects,
lost I lost my mom 2 years ago, and I know exactly what you mean.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's the part of you that they bring out, right? So
mm,
I saw a video one time that was like, it's not just that you miss the person, it's that you miss the version of you that they bring out as well, right? So
yeah.
I think about that a lot, but I think for Wendy, that is what I certainly related to the most. And then, of course, I have the knowledge of dealing with being the recipient of dealing with borderline personality my entire life. And then I don't have it, but dealing with it, you know, receiving it. And then yeah, and then I think her strength. Oh, that's such a hard question. That's a good. Okay.
Thank you. Well,
Oh,
because I had to ask because whether it's a character or someone you know, we obviously we're human, we're flawed, but there are strengths that are overlooked when someone does something wrong or when someone screws up. So that's why I asked that question.
yeah, I think that I'm just gonna go with my knee-jerk reaction. And I think I'm gonna keep it really simple, is that she continues to just keep going, which I
Mm,
think is a strength of hers, because somebody in her situation at the end of their rope with dealing with the things that she's dealt with, being a single mother for we're not really sure how long. Certainly, I've loaded up that it's been since she was a teenager, because she's like a younger mom. Um, she could have given up a long time ago, many times, I'm sure, in her
mm,
journey. And I think that her strength is that she does, even though she, you know, it's very hard and she doesn't show it, she loves her kid the way that she knows how to, which doesn't
mm.
for those of us who know what healthy love can be, right? But she loves her kid. She kept him alive. She kept going. She kept herself alive. I think that's her strength.
Wow. Thank you. Oof. So, behind the scenes, acting isn't just lights and red carpets, although we want to think it is. It's auditions, it's financing the dream, it's networking, and it's dealing with self-doubt. Can you share a moment that really tested you, maybe even terrified you, but
Hmm.
ended up being a turning point in your career?
Hmm.
And you just shared uprooting your entire life. I don't know what's more terrifying than that, but
That that was that was one of the top three scariest times in my life for sure.
okay.
Um, another time was losing my grandmother because she was really my anchor. Um, man, it's all deep, heavy stuff, girl. I'm sorry. I lost a very close friend too, back in 2020. And that was also a really difficult time for me. And it related to the business in the sense that he was also pursuing acting. His name's Trey. He's on my Instagram page. Loved that guy, man. He was light and love all the time. And he suffered from a heart attack at 33. And when we lost him, I had never I had never lost like in my adult life, because I had lost a lot of people when I was a kid too, but in my adult life, I had never experienced the loss of like a young friend. Um, and it really shook me to my core. And I was in the middle of doing this like self-tape challenge that we do as actors, where we have to like do a certain amount of tapes in the month of May, and he passed away in the middle of that. And I talk about it as like a God moment where I was just having like a, a breakdown about losing him in my bedroom. And I heard this voice, not out loud, not audibly, but to me, it was the voice of the Holy Spirit and God saying, you're going to finish that challenge. And I was like, my personality is like, I'm sorry, what? Like to get sassy and be like, okay, everybody calm down. But then I thought about it and I was like, okay, fine. And I got angry. I was like, you want me to go and do this challenge? And so like I walked into my taping space and I just like improvised a scene that helped me channel my grief of like identifying somebody at the morgue. I started thinking about all the procedural shows, and so I was like, I just need to like get this out. I did it. It felt great to get it out. And then I ended up finishing that challenge and I won the challenge and got to go on another podcast, a big acting podcast. And then I got to share more about Trey, which was all that I wanted to do at that point, right? Because he didn't get to do in his career what he wanted to do by that time. And I don't know, it definitely like ignited something in me to be like, we've got this one life, we've got this one chance, we don't know how long we have. You just got to go balls to the wall as much as you can, right? But then, rest. I'm not being like, toxically determination and hardworking driven or whatever you want to say about it. But it's like, rest when you need to. But then it's kind of like, love the people that you love when you can, tell them that you love them, and do this thing with love. And I try to remind myself of that every single time I go to a new job of like, God, please use me. I'm not here just to act. I'm here to connect with people. And
Mm.
that is something that I try to prioritize in my life all the time. And in a world that feels very disconnected right now, um, I'm certainly struggling a lot with that. And so I try and look for like micro ways to remember to connect with people. I mean, even right now, this is one of them, right? We're talking about deep
Yeah.
stuff when other people might come in and be like, let's keep it light. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to keep it light.
I, you know, I think one of the biggest gifts that we have as humans is connecting.
Yeah.
Um, and I think one of the reasons why I started the platform was because I believe that we can use our pain for purpose. Like I believe that we can use our storytelling um, as a source of healing and
Mhm.
connect at the same time. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think that's your gift. So don't apologize for getting deep. Not with me.
Sometimes I'm like, man, can I just do like an interview funny, or like can I just like, go and just like have
But
one
but
like
that would be faking it. Like right now, if I said no, we need to change the tone and be happy and joyful. Like that's not the mood right now. And it's okay. If it's not for you today, then don't listen. Listen another day. It's fine.
funny thing is that like in pain for a lot of people, I mean for me certainly, it's like I laugh at myself, right? It's like, so there is light in the dark of bringing it up. And I think that I just need to remember that because because life is hard and there's going to be a lot of darkness. We're certainly being challenged,
Ah,
inundated
yeah.
and burdened by all the darkness happening around the world. And I think that more more now than ever, we have to try to connect and be light for other people.
Yeah.
And
Oof, I got chills right now. I know, yeah, that resonated. So,
you're, you're doing that with this. So yeah, that's awesome.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I needed to hear that today. So thanks. So now that you took this leap, and I can't believe we're as we're wrapping it up. You took this leap. You carved your space. What's keeping you grounded and hungry for more? Like you said, the world is crazy. This business, just being a creative, period, whether you draw, you act, you create content or podcast, whatever it is, it's really hard. So, how do you stay hungry for more and keep yourself grounded? Because it all feels like a big vortex right now. Just,
Well, the non-deep answer is I don't do any other soul-sucking job. And when I do this, it doesn't feel like work. I mean, it is certainly work. It is hard.
oh, I felt that.
Yeah, but I don't want to do anything else. This brings me joy. It gets me excited.
It fuels your soul.
Yeah,
Like,
and
yeah.
like some people might find it unimportant, but when we're hurting, we turn to storytelling. And when we're looking for answers, we turn to storytelling. When we're looking to laugh, we turn to storytelling. So, one of my big goals is I would love to do comedy because I mean, gosh, my dream would be to go to like a 9 to 5 regular, like kind of sitcom job or some other single cam comedy job.
That's
Because
funny. I was gonna ask you, what stories are you chasing? You just told me.
oh man, I want to do comedy. And it's so funny because you look at my resume or you look at the footage and the things that I've done where I'm just scratching the surface. Um, I can't wait to do comedy. I mean, I've been able to be a part of some comedy stuff, but I don't have any like usable footage from it yet. But I've taken some jobs recently where I got to just go and be on set with a bunch of comedians.
Oh, love that.
Just like I have 2 weeks paid where I get to like watch a master class. Okay, yeah, I'll come and be there for 2 weeks to like not say much, but um I use those opportunities as like free learning too. So I really do want to do comedy, but yeah, I mean that's what keeps me grounded is that what there's other things that I'm passionate about, but nothing that I want to do for a living the way that I want to do this. And storytelling and investigating the human experience is really what I do now, right? I used to investigate other things, which was also the human
That's true.
experience. And now I'm investigating the human experience both externally and internally, and it lights me up. I think it's important, and I take it very seriously.
I love that. Thank you. So, one of the things that I talk about on the podcast is dropping truth, and there was a whole lot of truth here today. Um, so to wrap this up, we talked about Runarounds, the show, which I love the music, but there's it's more than music, and I didn't expect that. I thought it was gonna be fun, and I was like, oh, the music is cool. Let me check it out. And then as the characters started sort of develop flourishing, I was like, oh wait, there's more.
Neat.
Um,
But it's also super fun and super silly. I mean, it has everything. It
It
has
does. It
yeah.
does for sure. So it's also about dreamers. I
Mm.
mean, the band is pursuing their dream and while they're living real life inside a TV screen. What's one truth that you can leave us with today that will bring some light to our day?
Mm. Oh geez. I have like
Ah,
I have several things probably in my head, but I think two things that I always say is that I if your heart is calling you to something, it's for a reason, and I don't think it should be ignored. And then I also always say that I always reserve the right to change my mind, and that can be about anything. Small things, it can be about my career, it can be about life choices, it can be about the direction of my life. And I just think that those two things keep me um, open and not as judgmental of what I might be feeling on any given day. I reserve the right to change my mind, but if my heart is calling me to something, it's for a reason.
Dani, thank you so much. Ah, I made it without crying.
Hey.
You um you've made a difference in my date today for sure. Thank you for sharing your light, your gift. I cannot wait to see what else you have cooking. Please share with our community how they find out more about you, where they can watch runarounds. I've seen it, so I know.
Well, you can check out the Runarounds on Amazon Prime, and all 8 episodes are out. You can also check out the boys' music on anywhere where you stream music because they dropped an
Ah,
album, and their band name is the same as the show, the Runarounds. Um, and you can find me mostly on Instagram at Dani_Diet.
and spelled yet, although we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's Dani is Dani, and then underscore Deette.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure, really.
So Danny showed us that reinvention takes fear, but do it anyway, grit, and truth. If you've been waiting to leap, this is your reminder. The perfect moment is now. Keep owning your story. Until next time, keep dropping those truth bombs. Thank you, loves. Talk to you soon.